91 days, that's all that's left before Election Day. Donald Trump kicked off the week with a big speech today in Detroit to outline his newly revamped economic plan. He drew a stark contrast to Hillary Clinton's agenda. We're going to get to that in a moment. But first, here's what Trump's America First economic plan will look like.
No American company will pay more than 15% of their business income in taxes. My plan will also help reduce the cost of child care by allowing parents to fully deduct the average cost of child care spending from their taxes. No family will have to pay the death tax. I want jobs and I want wealth to stay in America. American cars will travel the roads. American planes will connect our cities. And American ships will patrol the seas. It will be American hands that rebuild this country.
The latest Fox News poll shows the economy is a strength for Trump. Voters trust him over Clinton to do a better job by a 5-point margin. All right, let's go through this plan, discuss the economics of it. Do you think the plan is good, Eric, from your analysis today on it?
Honestly, I think it's the best conservative economic plan I think I've ever seen. Now, I don't think I would have delivered it the way Donald Trump did with a bunch of, Hillary stuff mixed in. But when you drill down into what the plan is on taxes, this is a perfect conservative tax plan. 15% corporate tax, deduct child care from taxes. That helps out every single person with a child. 10% repatriation. I've talked about repatriation. And the death tax. A lot of people are going to be happy about that one, too. In energy, I would have done more, but he said lifting restrictions on all forms of energy. That's wide sweeping, and that's going to create a lot of jobs and a lot of economic activity. Regulation, canceling illegal overreaching executive orders, fantastic. And then trade. He spent the vast majority, a lot of the time on that speech, or the most amount of time on trade, and he crushed it. The trade stuff is fantastic. From my standpoint, I hated TPP. I hate NAFTA. I think he talked about a free trade. And this one, something no one's really talked about, the enforcing the intellectual property theft that China is doing. If you're a business person, you know what's going on. They are aggressively stealing our intellectual property. It costs us hundreds of billions of dollars a year.
All right, and they need more like a permanent timeout. Just real quick to follow up on, you've always been a big proponent of a better tax system because we talked about flat tax, fair tax. Some people were hoping to see that. We saw Herman Cain have his program of 999. Any disappointment there that you don't see something like that?
No, but in order to pay for this, and this is something that's really, I'm going to talk to David Malpass tonight, who's the senior economic advisor on the factor. In order to pay for this, you need 4% growth. Now, 4% is double what we've had for the last few years, 6 or 7 years on average, but it's not unreasonable because Ronald Reagan, coming out of his recession, had an 8% growth rate, averaged maybe 4% or so over his period of time. So it's attainable, but it's aggressive.
All right, Dana, how do you assess this? Do you think that it was, one, did he get the message out well? Two, do you think that it fits an appropriate party platform? And my third question for you, let's see if we can both remember all these, is how this could
I'm having a Rick Perry moment already.
I know, blame it on the back medication. And how do you think this could impact women's votes in terms of saying, hey, all child care is deductible? Is that going to help him?
Well, I think a few things. The Detroit Economic Club, a very prestigious place to give a speech, so I think that was a great location. I think that what Eric was talking about in terms of the tax reform pieces, the estate tax, it's pretty standard fare. And on the energy side, pretty standard for Republicans, which probably might be good for some Republicans who are thinking, I don't think I can get to Donald Trump, but maybe that gives them some comfort that they think they can do so. On the energy side of things, remember, we talked about this briefly before, the Democrats in their platform committee in Philadelphia, they stripped out the all-of-the-above energy plan that Obama had in 2008 and 2012, and it's basically like, we don't want any fossil fuels, and that is actually their official platform. So on the energy side of things, if you're an energy voter and you would want to care about those issues, Donald Trump would be the person you should go for. On regulations, it costs about $100 million per regulation in order for them to get fully integrated, and it's like basically trying to ask the country's economic system to run a marathon with 20-pound weights on its ankles. Wow. So I think that is actually, all that is good. I did feel like a lot of the trade stuff is right out of what Senator Sanders talked about in his campaign. And there's this group came up, and it's called the Economic Policy Institute, and he kept citing those. Trump kept citing that group, and I remember them a little bit just from my previous time at the White House, because that as far as I remember, is a pretty well-known left-wing, protectionist, pro-union group, and he was citing a lot of their work. Now, that might be where he wants to take the Republican Party, but I think there will be a lot of sort of Chamber of Commerce type Republicans or Republicans who are in business and are doing trade overseas who say, I don't think I can actually go there on trade with him. But overall, I think it was fine. On your third question about women,
Nice.
I don't know. On the child tax credit thing, I think that it could help, but I think Hillary Clinton will be effective in saying that only helps wealthy people. And I noticed that Donald Trump did not include something that Ivanka did in her speech when she introduced him, which was about paid family leave.
Yes.
That's actually something I think the Republicans should try to figure out a way to get behind and in order to fund in some way, especially if you want women to come back to the workplace, because we have a huge drop-off after they have children. They decide not to come back to the workplace. We need them back in the workforce. So he didn't include that, and probably because his advisors say that's not just a Republican thing that we don't want to do.
Okay, but perhaps there's room to be able to tack it on as an addendum.
Maybe it's hard
later.
to pay for. That's
Yeah.
probably why they didn't do it.
This is always the problem. How do you pay for it, Greg?
I don't know. This is nothing but pure discrimination.
Because you don't have kids?
I don't have, well, I was going to say, I don't have kids. What about my inner child? Can I hire a nanny for my inner child? What if I am a child at heart? I think I am. I think Geraldo's a child at heart. I think we're all children at heart. We should all have nannies that should be paid for. As for the trade thing, you bash trade during a campaign, then you embrace it when you're elected, because everybody likes trade once they're in. I will say this. This goes back to the thing that we've been talking about for 5 years since this show started, the makers versus the takers. What Trump did, and I have to give him credit because I've been the one that has been asking him for specifics. Please, please, please tell me what you're going to do. Give me bullet points that I can like sink my teeth into. So he took aim at the makers, offering them two things that have previously handicapped them: getting rid of putting a freeze on regulatory laws, and getting rid of punitive taxes. Those are the two things that hurt the makers. And this is, I think he should get high marks for that, for doing that, because for the longest time we've been smearing the small businessman as a greedy fat cat, when actually almost all businessmen are people who sleep on the floor, who don't take a salary, who try to open a second business so they can hire more people. These are the people that I think should be enamored by this, the fact that he's putting a freeze on these laws, that he's repealing corporate taxes, that he's trying to help, he's trying to loosen those chains so you can actually do better. So in a weird, so I do think that part is forward thinking, and I think it's helpful. I think the trade stuff is pandering. I don't think it's real.
Okay, but how do you see this, Geraldo? And
Hi,
is it going to help?
first of all, nice to see everybody.
You.
Nice to
It's been a long time, Geraldo.
I know, even if it's vacation relief, I'm delighted to be back. I think that we have to bear in mind that it takes zero political courage to say you're going to cut taxes. Everybody says they're going to cut taxes.
But the same with raising taxes.
Nobody, it is absolutely the opposite. It's absolutely not true. When you say you're going to cut tax leading up to an election and you don't say how you're going to pay for the lost revenue, there is an inherent dishonesty that I think real conservatives should flag and say, wait a second, he's cutting the top tax level. He's streamlining. I've seen estimates up to $10 trillion over time of lost federal revenue. How are you going to pay for all this stuff? In terms of the energy policy, going to loosen up all this energy. I was in New Jersey yesterday. I picked up Sol at summer camp, drove down the Palisades, got gas for $1.77 a gallon. What do we need Keystone for with all the pollution and everything else? You got gas for $1.77 a gallon right now.
Do you eat at Taco Bell?
Have you paid,
that's only because I'm pandering to the Hispanics.
Have you paid your electric bill lately? They're astronomical. Because gasoline's an easy one to keep down, but when you're paying some of the highest rates you've paid
there's
in 20
natural
years,
gas, natural gas in abundance. You have all of these.
Well, then we shouldn't be importing any oil.
These dormant rigs. You have dormant rigs. You have dormant producers of natural gas. We are flooded with energy, and now you want to expand.
We're going
to bring back coal mines. We're going to bring back coal mines. We're going to start making steel again. You're dreaming. You're smoking. The one thing I do.
You're smoking something.
The one thing which I would propose to you would be a good revenue generator for the government. What I would like is a real Republican approach to the economy, privatize infrastructure development, let people build toll roads and toll bridges, let them do that. You have zero interest now. Borrow the money, the federal government, to put people to work building highways,
Okay,
building
so
bridges,
infrastructure.
building tunnels. Let them work. Let them really make real
that's
jobs
the Geraldo
rather
plan.
than
That's
the
the
Geraldo
Geraldo
rather
Republican
than talking
plan.
about Trump's plan, which is what we thought we were going to do.
And versus the Hillary
Did you miss
Clinton plan, shall we? She will deliver her economic policy speech in Detroit on Thursday. Now, Trump, of course, beat her to it and made a strong case against her plan. Take a listen.
The city of Detroit is the living, breathing example of my opponent's failed economic agenda. If you were a foreign power looking to weaken America, you couldn't do better than Hillary Clinton's economic agenda. Hillary Clinton short-circuited again. She accidentally told the truth and said that she wanted to raise taxes on the middle class. Hillary Clinton says her plan will put a lot of coal companies and coal miners out of business. There will be no change under Hillary Clinton. Only 4 more years of weakness and President Obama.
Okay, Dana, so a little bit of a preemptive strike there in advance of her announcement to say hers is no good, it's Obama.
I don't know whether in this week, if it's better to go first or second, so that you can respond to your opponent, right? So that then we'll have to wait till September when they have their first debate to talk about it. But I did note that Larry Summers, who is a longtime Democratic operative and economist, who wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post today, and he was talking about what Eric talked about, which is economic growth. Yeah. That it doesn't matter what any candidate promises right now. None of it is possible unless we improve on economic growth. And I'm reading the whole op-ed thinking, okay, we're going to get to the part where he's talking about how we're going to get more economic growth. And in that op-ed, he didn't quite do that. But the Democrats know they're at a real risk of, I think last quarter's GDP was 1.8%, if I'm correct. I mean, that was below expectations. 1.2%?
Yeah.
So
a quarter.
It is hard to figure out a way, how do you get to 3 or even the 4% growth, which is actually would be a huge improvement, but nobody's talking about exactly how they will get there.
Yeah, and the idea maybe, Greg, is that they say, okay, well, give Trump a shot because Hillary is pretty much a continuation of Obama's failed economic policies, and look where he's left us.
I think the direction she might go is attacking, this is a new trend, which is attacking inherited wealth. That somehow you do not have the right to inherit money from your parents when they die. You're going to see.
I agree with that.
You agree with that?
I do, because
that means somebody can take your money.
I think the death tax is something that's fundamental to GOP principles.
But it's already
we don't
been taxed.
like the death tax.
I think
all Republicans are.
You're looting a corpse.
Right. Yeah, and you've already paid taxes on what you've earned during your life. So I agree with that about the death tax.
You agree that it's bad.
But I agree that it's bad.
Okay.
But I agree that it is bad. But a couple of more months like July, and this economic issue is going to dry up for Republicans. You have to face facts. As much as you say that the economy is horrible and growth is 1.2% for the quarter and so forth, there's 277,000 jobs added in July, unemployment 4.9%. At a certain point, you're going to stop snickering and you're going to see this economy has indeed, it is the envy of the world.
Your mustache grows faster than our economy.
That's actually a fact.
It is a fact.
So Geraldo,
it's a fact.
Can you possibly make any case that things are good with a 1.2% quarterly growth? I mean, literally, this gets wonky, but the only thing that really matters, two things really matter in the economy. Growth on a macro level and wages on a micro level. Neither one of these are, they're both performing subpar.
Dana, in her genteel and intelligent way, said the harsh truth. To go from 1.2 to 4% is Herculean. It will take some staggering rebooting of everything.
When you look at it in terms of an average. So if he's president for 8 years,
the Bank of England just went to 0% interest.
You have to average for, not
so we are
immediately at 4.
We've been that way for 8 years.
Ronald Reagan went to 8% when he took over. 8%.
Cryogenics should have brought him back. I've been saying it. All right.